If you take a rat and you drop it all alone in a cage with nothing but 2 water bottles, one filled with normal water and one filled with morphine water, that rat will do nothing but drink that morphine water until it eventually kills itself and dies. If you take that same rat and you put it in a rat park instead, with other rats to socialize with, toys to play with, and treats to work for, even with the morphine water in their cage, these rats will never get addicted. Now, what's particularly interesting is that study where the rats became addicts, that study was actually used to justify the war on drugs. But surprise, surprise, looks like it should have been a war on isolation, boredom, and lack of purpose instead.
This is definitely interesting because the reality is that, typically speaking, when people are in healthy environments, when any creature is in a healthy environment where they feel, most natural, they typically don't develop self-harming habits. The statistics show that a huge, overwhelming majority of adults, whether you drink coffee or drink alcohol even on occasion, or smoke marijuana, smoke cigarettes, or people who do harder drugs on the low. People, we all know, look, if you're an adult in the world, especially if you're in the corporate world at all, you know how many people are out here bumping lines of coke on a regular. And, you wouldn't even necessarily know it if you didn't happen to know. So these drug campaigns, the Just Say No campaigns, where they just make everyone out to be these terrible addicts. First and foremost, that's false. Most people who consume drugs aren't on the streets homeless. But, they have used many studies where they overrepresented the data. I'm sure you've heard of the study where they, tried to show that, well, see, look, these monkeys, they breathed in marijuana and it killed them, when in reality, they just basically strapped a mask to the monkeys' faces and just let them breathe in the smoke endlessly. Like, yeah, we're not going to let you get any oxygen. We're just going to let you breathe in this smoke until you die. And then we're going to be able to say, well, see, look, the THC's in the system, it killed them, knocked them out. And then I don't know if any of you have ever seen the classics, the Reefer Madness classics, where, it was basically like a propaganda campaign where they made it like, the devil's lettuce. And if you do marijuana, it's going to make you do all these terrible crimes. And we all know that marijuana just kind of makes you chill out and relax and maybe, do things with a little bit more ease, maybe take a little bit of pain away from your everyday life.
I am seeing in this country too many lives being destroyed for nonviolent offenses. We have a criminal justice system that lets CEOs on Wall Street walk away, and yet we are imprisoning or giving jail sentences to young people who are smoking marijuana. I think we have to think through this war on drugs, which has done an enormous amount of damage.
The reality is that the drug war is a huge sham. A small group of people are making an obscene amount of money, whether it be the cartel system or just, the sellers of the drugs themselves at whatever level that is, or the prison industrial complex itself that gets, a lot of tax dollars funneled to it. A lot of those systems being private, a lot of people owning shares within those private companies. Where they basically have quotas and they're like, no, we got to get more bodies in here. So again, we know that the drug war is a huge sham. Take for instance, what bootlegging, what that did, when prohibition was in place. And, once they got rid of that over the course of decades, you don't really buy alcohol in the streets. It's not really something that the black market profits off of the way that it did when alcohol was illegal. So until they're really ready to look at it like that, then they're not serious about really doing anything about the drug issues that we have. So that's the reality that I'm sure many of you are quite familiar with.